Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the Skillless Red Kidku from Zenkai 8. Historically, Bandai has done a pretty good job at creating decks with vanilla cards, whether that's actually playing them as bodies in like Blue Teen Gohan, or using them as advantage engines in Icarus or U7 Gohan. So I think it's a really great opportunity for us to actually look at a new one, this one being one of the first ones based on 30,000 3 drops, you know, that's kind of been not a standard. It's been a lot of 110Ks and the 220Ks, even a couple 215Ks if you look at like Yellow Whis. But this is going to be a brand new one, and I'm really excited about it. It's really the red deck that I think I'm the most excited about since like, oh god, I don't even know when. But it is a really cool deck, and there are some really strong interactions and a lot of deck building possibilities with it. So let's just jump right on in. So first things first, we have the leader. Honestly, very simple. On swing, draw 1, and then once per turn, activate main. We can go ahead and pick up to a life and dump a battle card Skillless from our deck to our drop area. This puts it in rotation since there is a lot of recursion, both from drop to hand as well as drop to board, of your Skillless battle cards. So being able to do that is a really great opportunity. Because it is once per turn, you can basically guarantee that you're going to awaken on turn 2 using the C battle card, and then your 4 life awaken, draw 2. The backside is kind of simple, but it's really got a lot of depth to it. So once per turn, when we play a red 3-drop skill, or really just any skillless red battle card that was originally skillless, we'll draw a card. So that's going to happen basically every time on your turn, and sometimes on your opponent's turn, right? So that does give you a little bit of depth there. The best skill on it is the not once per turn. When you play a red battle card with 30,000 power, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons and it gets a minus 15k. So notably, this is not once per turn. Likewise, if you were to somehow play more than one battle card that's 30,000 at the same time, you'd be able to minus 30,000 power. The fact that it can hit unisons and battle cards is really good. The unison part is so unbelievably strong right now, hitting these, you know, Vegito and Bardock unisons just for a quick little boop, minus 15. Very, very nice. Likewise, you can turn 20k unisons into like hittable cards for your leader. That can be really, really useful. And then this activate main is another piece of hidden depth. So once per turn, you can just play a skillless Z battle card from your Z deck or hand. And if you do, negate the skill for the turn. So the if you do negate the skill for the turn means that you basically get to dodge window 1 counterplays. If your opponent would respond and say, oh, I don't want that card to be played, I'm going to prevent it from being played, that's when you go, okay, choose none. Anyway, activate main, go again, and then you would then have the opportunity to play it. Because you didn't play a card, it's not negated for the turn, so you can just keep trying it until they let you through. So, honestly, very simple on the surface, nice and deep on the, in terms of what you can really actually do with it. Some of the supportive Z cards, the Yajirobe Z Unison is fine. I don't think it's very good. I don't think you'll play it very frequently. It's just the +1 activate main for a red battle card goes under it, and then it gets 5,000 in critical. Honestly, this would probably be okay if it weren't for the fact that it's auto, that when they play a card to play that card and then remove it from the game. If it didn't remove itself from the game, I think this would be worth it. But because it removes itself from the game, I mean, you're spending 2 for a 20k crit, and then if your opponent plays a card without barrier that you actually care to minus, you would get minus 15, right? And then obviously you'd potentially get to draw if you have no other way to do it. So it's a fine card, but I think when we look at others in the archetype and in the deck, there's no reason really to try to play this card unless you just absolutely need to. However, can't say the same about the Super Water of the Gods Exchange for Suffering. This card is so unbelievably good. 1/1, just can't place cards under it. You know, they don't want you to just constantly add life. So, when it's placed in the battle area, you'll place 2 life straight up under this card. Okay, not bad. And then activate battle, choose 2 cards under the life and remove it from the game. Choose up to one of your red Son Goku childhoods and it gains 5,000 for the turn. So, defensively, what this is going to mean is that you'll have a once per game plus 5k. You're going to make yourself into a 20k leader, whether that's, you know, defensively, you can maybe make one of your battle cards into a 35 or a 30, depending on which one you pick. And honestly, that's fine. I think what really this card is, it's another piece of depth. So this card reads to me that you get to pick down a 6 with your leader, you'll activate this card, and then you're going to sit at 4 life immediately. You're still going to have 6 life, because at some point during an activate battle, you'll be able to regen those 2 cards from underneath it back into your life. But you're going to be at 4 life immediately, which means you have access to, like, turn 1 explosive dance. Turn 2 explosive dance, rather, sorry. You get access to all 4 life super combos immediately. You don't have to, like, sit there and, like, pick yourself down to 4. You know, if you got hit to 5 or whatever, you'd be able to also get access to things like testing the opposition or any other life-triggered abilities, and I think that's really, really strong. There are some super interesting edge cases of this, right, where you could, like, use this with the rainbow leader to gain life back after you've Z-awakened into the yellow leader. It's not good, but you could do it. But to me, that's what this reads as, is like you get access to all your 4 life tools immediately, as well as producing the Z battle card required for Explosive Dance. And then obviously Awakening on turn 2, basically guaranteed, as long as you can get to a battle step to create any Z energy. We're going to talk about these cantrips here. They're honestly all fine. I think Launch is the best one, but we'll go over them from left to right. Launch is just on play, draw a card. And then for a red, activate battle, you get to discard her to draw back a Skillless from your drop area and then give 15k to your leader. I think this is really good as a, like, if you look at it like this card is a better version of cards that exist where it's a 1 for 10k that draws a card. This is a 1 for 15k that draws a card, right? Not to mention the fact that it is not a 110k, so it can be just comboed off naturally. It is a cantrip, so it is a card that you could consider actually playing. And then it's a Skillless Earthling, which is obviously great. Or not Skillless Earthling, a 1-drop Earthling, which is great. Bulma, World Protection Supporter. I'm going to ruin this for everybody. What's going on with her hair? I know that she's got the ponytail, but you can't see any of the ponytail, and her hair looks really stupid in this. You're welcome. When she's played, draw a card, and then you can place her straight up in the drop area, and then you can add the red Skillless card from your drop to your hand. So when you Foolish Burialed it on that first turn, you can just replace her with a different card. It also pulls her off the board, right? So that way if your opponent had any sort of, like, removal, you can just make sure, basically, hey, I get to play her to draw a card, and then immediately replace her with a different card in hand, kind of as if she was just pay 1, draw 1. Then the Goku, I think this card's the worst of them, but it's not terrible. So when it's played, we'll top 5 for an Earthling or Saiyan, both 3 or less. That's fine, right? In terms of generic pieces, there are better searchers, but he does do the trick because he also has the activate main to just place a Skillless Son Goku from your drop on top of him. So you could go into either the 1-cost 110k or the 3-cost 30k that we have from this deck. All of which are fine. I think Launch is a 4 of, Bulma might be like a 2 or 3 of. I don't know that Goku would see play, but it really depends on what the TP does. The 3-drop supporters. These cards are all super interesting. So they all basically have a pay for a red that you can just play them from your hand. But I think the differences are in how they're actually used. So I think Tien is probably the best one. This is a pay a red to play this card and then play a Skillless card from your deck. For a red. 1 red for a 15 and a 30k. That's pretty good. Then, if you want to use them in a combo, you just give one of your red Skillless cards 30k. So you're like, okay, or critical. So you just go like 35 crit. So the cards that you already played, he becomes huge. I really like this card. I think it's super duper good. Whereas I think about like Roshi, who is fine. He's a 1 energy removal with a blocker piece. And if you want to maintain the blocker, you can give your opponent that card back. Or, more likely, you just let it die and then it's gone, right? There's no point in doing so if you'd rather just remove the card outright. Finally, we have Yajirobe, who can add a card back from your drop to your hand. Again, Foolish Burialing, great. Of course, you might just naturally get to that point when your opponent starts removing your cards. Sorry. And at the end of your turn, you get to switch a Skillless card to active mode, gain blocker. And honestly, that's not terrible. The fact that he has Deflect is really great. These other ones don't have Deflect, even though their skills are primarily in the Activate main section. The fact that he's going to stick and you do have the opportunity to get that little bit of extra defense is really good, right? A 30k blocker means that either you get out of an attack for free, or if they do remove it, you're going to get to trigger something like Bunny Girl, which I think is really, really strong. I don't know, man. The card looks funny. It looks like he's trying to drown the child. But it's fine. It's the way that you could look at it to me is like it's a conditional version of a better card. So in exchange for getting a draw out of it, right, because you get to add back a Skillless card, or rather you get to add back a 3 costs Son Goku Childhood Skillless, you get to then get +5 for the turn. But to me, in red, there's already an extra card that does it with Gorin's Secret Medicine, or you could just play the new Vegeta BR card that we got in the last round of regional promos. All do the same thing, but they are usually better, so I don't think this is worth it. Here's some of the Skillless cards to look at. So on the right side are all of our 3-drop Earthlings. These are going to be the ones that you should probably play somewhere between 6 and 8 copies in your deck. My personal favorite would be Mutaito, except that he doesn't come foil, and we don't play 4 people cards. So I'm probably going to end up playing Launch and Grandpa Gohan myself. I totally understand why people like Ox King, just not for me. On the left side here, we have a couple of the other pieces. So we have the original Skillless 110k Goku. I don't think he's going to be relevant, but you know, you never know what kind of builds might show up. The 30k Goku is fine, but not being an Earthling is pretty detrimental. The Ten Shinhan. I actually think this card is way better than it appears. So some people are always like, oh my gosh, why would I want a Skillless card out of my Z deck? But to me, the fact that your leader can play it still just means that you're not using a Z, like you're not paying its Z cost, you're playing it from a non-hand area just to draw a card, and while it's only a 20k instead of a 30k, you're still doing a lot of pressure, although I don't think you actually get to draw a card if you do it, but I mean, you're still just like producing a 20k out of nowhere, right? Like just leader skill, play a 20k, no hand, no anything, go. Really not bad. Not to mention the fact that other red decks that have a hard time building Z energy could make very good use of this card. I think about something like Prison Frieza, which can't really make full use of its full Z deck because like how many rush attacks are you going to resolve in a deck that combos maybe twice in any given turn cycle. This card suddenly goes, all right, well, hey, you know what? If I just play like 3 of these over there, now I'm going to have access to just like a 20k beat stick on command. Son Goku Final Power. This card is not a Skillless card, as you can actually see, but I think it is interesting just to put here because we have these. This is, again, a screenshot from the website, so it's not an official reading, but it does seem okay. So you'll just evolve on any red Son Goku. At least that's what it looks like to me. Limit 1. And then, or at least with the energy cost of 3, so you can go on top of your Skillless guy, and it's fine. So it reads, I think, that when it attacks, you get to choose up to one of your, when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with like 30,000 power or less and KO it. So you do get to probably remove something along with the fact that you went Skillless Goku, evolve this, KO a card, right? Because you went -15 and then KO'd it. Its activate battle is a little better. You just get to use a Skillless battle card from your deck in a combo, which builds the Z energy, and then obviously makes any one of your attacks once per turn 5k higher. Obviously that can also be defensive as well if your opponent doesn't remove this card right away. Being a 30k is pretty big, right? He does get to allow, he lets you push through explosive dance or things like that. I don't know if this card's gonna make the cut, but it seems okay. Let's look at the boss monsters. Both these cards, unbelievably strong. So the card on the left is a new red staple. I think this card should probably be played at 1 or 2 in most Z decks. Probably just at 1 because it's more of a game-ending card, but it is still really good. So if you have a red battle card with 30,000 or more in play, he becomes a 1/2, which is really, really effective for a card that KOs a 30 or less on play, and then once per turn, we're just gonna go, oh, I'll sack this battle card, this 30k or power or more in the drop, and then you go 25 double for 1 from a non-hand area that also KO'd something. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. The other one though, the new main deck boss monster, Son Goku Attack to Save the World. This card's nuts. This card is super duper good. So basically though, when you have your Skillless battle card in play, you're going to be able to play it for 2. And you get to play another Skillless battle card from your drop. Also strong, because it means your leader is going to trigger multiple times because he's a 30k, and the Skillless card that you're playing is a 30k, and you probably played a Skillless battle card. And then if you do have a Skillless battle card, when it's played, you get to KO a 30 or less, ignoring barrier. Red having skill negation, or red having barrier removal is a problem. That's a problem. There are a lot of cards that kind of got around red by being a sicky barrier card, and this guy is just going to immediately delete it for 2 while drawing a card while producing 2 bodies, one of which is a 30 double and the other which is a 30k single. So this card is unbelievably strong. I expect this to be the cornerstone of the deck, that they're just going to slam this basically turns 3 and onward. This card's messed up. I do not understand why this card is so good, but it's a counterplay. You can activate it for free if you have a 30k red card in play, and you get to play it. Limit 1 if your life is at 4 or less, another reason why you need to be at 4. When it's played, you play a Skillless from the drop area, which triggers your leaders once per turn to draw, and also the not once per turn to -15. So this is a free counterplay -15 that draws a card and produces a 30k body. Huh? Huh? What? So this is a tiny bit good. Yeah, it's really not bad. Kinda good. Kinda really good and broken. But we'll see here in a moment. But in contention, please ban this card, because this card is already going to play a Skillless card to draw a card and -30. But if you don't, you can actually just play Chaozu, because he's an Earthling only. And then Chaozu plays another card which draws a card and gives -20. So when a card is removed, you go Bunny Girl, replace the Bunny Girl with the card that you're going to draw, and you produced 3 new bodies. One of which is a blocker. Please ban this card, Bandai. I can't believe this card is legal. Next, we've got some potential engines. I've got 3 different slides here to show you guys what could be. I don't necessarily know if this is right, but it's something to think about. So we have the Heirloom Ball engine from the Critical Blow deck. So you can use this to cycle through some of your extra cards, but unfortunately you can't send cards from your drop to your warp, so you do lose access to Overwhelm, as well as you can't use like the red yellow angel energy. There's a world where you just use it on your opponent's turn to get it in the drop area. I don't know if that's good enough. I think charging a yellow is going to be difficult, and then also just to activate it just to play a yellow Skillless card that doesn't even trigger your leader is not great. However, I do think just as an actual card on its own, I think the Duel with an Assassin is a very good card. So when it's played, you can add up to 1 Grampus Heirloom to your hand from your drop area, which is, you know, basically a draw in theory if you decide to splash it. However, I just can't imagine thinking that giving up like Vegito Secret Rare is worth it. So you'll go ahead and do that, and then you get to choose 2 of your opponent's cards, ignoring barrier, and switch into rest mode and negate their skills. Skill negation in red, kinda good. You can turn off Boo Unison for a turn. You could turn off, you know, like Vegito blocker in the black deck and then make it killable, like, or more easily killable. It was killable before, but now it's more easily killable. And then it's a 25 dual attack. Honestly, this card is just really solid. If you decided to go with this engine, it does give you access to yellow energy, so you would have access to things like Almighty Resistance for a counter, Nimbus for a floodgate, Oolong out of the Z deck, which this card is unbelievably strong, especially in a deck full of 30ks. You're not even like trying to find something good to play off of it. It's just go, alright, the basics that my deck does, Oolong is a 30k, 1 energy 30k. And then things like Khalifa Troublemaker, this could also be replaced with, say, Final Spirit Cannon, but anything that just allows you to tap your opponent's energy is really, really good. The Universe 7 engine. This one I am more immediately hopeful on, but I think in the long run, again, it wouldn't be worth it just from a dex-based transport. So, Gohan Ultimate Essence is a really good card, right? Top 5 for a U7 or a red Unison card of specified cost of 2. And then when you use a mono red Skillless card in a draw combo, you get to draw a card. I think that would be really useful, that if like this is your turn 1 play, you just Foolish Burial out of Skillless, and then you use your leader skill, combo a Skillless, draw a card. Very solid just to keep your hand size up. However, my biggest issues is still going to come from the fact that none of the 30Ks are U7, so it's not like you're adding them back and then using them, right? Like we didn't get a Krillin or a TN 30K Skillless, so that's going to be an issue. Likewise, Divine Presence is a really solid boss monster. It has less interaction than the other two, but maybe as a top end, it's just about as strong, right? So it does get to draw a card because when it attacks, you'll get to add a Skillless, and then it gets +5 for the turn. So you're going to go ahead and be huge. But I really like this Activate Battle, right? That if you have 3 or more energy and 2 or more red cards in the combo area, you get to play it from your hand and then choose a mono red card and it gets 5,000 for the turn. So you can choose itself if you're going for that. You can choose your leader if you're going for a defensive play. There's a lot of different options for it that I think the card is super solid. Also searchable by Gohan. It's one of those things where you'd probably include it just to ensure that it is searchable by Gohan. If you played Gohan, no doubt in my mind, you'd go over to TN U7 Challenger. It's an Earthling, so it's searchable by your other cantrips. Gohan can obviously play it. It is not an Earthling only, so unfortunately Bunny Girl wouldn't be able to play it out because it is U7, but that's honestly probably okay. And then here's your suite of 2-drop unisons. So Piccolo, Descendant of the King, obviously very average to solid card, right? Just draw a card, and then the anti-counter effect is really good. Gogeta, you could play out a 1-drop every single turn. You could even play out things like Chaozu offensively would be possibly okay. Obviously, the top 3 is a really strong effect, and then you do just basically put out a all-the-time threat of, if this card is at 5 markers, you might just die to its swing. So you have to respect it, right? And then there's things like Gotenks Unison of Rage, which is a really utility card, right? Getting to look in your opponent's hand. Things like Purunga is a really popular secret rare right now. Go ahead and take that card out of their hand. That Cell Xeno that was going to kill you on turn 5, not anymore. So just little stuff to think about like that. I think this card is really solid. And if you were to play like 4 Gogeta, 4 TN, 4 Gohan, and like 2 Divine Presence, that gives you N amount, right? It's like 12 to 16 cards that would be a target for Gohan. I'm sure there are other U7 cards you could play, but this is just the main package that I see. And then finally, and definitely worst, is the Skillless Gohan pack, or Skillless Goku package from set 5, and then its following support. The Adventure Begins is a fine card, right? It basically says draw a card every turn, but it produces an off-color card that you can't combo every turn. Even if the 4-star ball is a cool little, 0-10 Skillless, might as well just play Deluge at that point. I mean, it's recurable with Gohan or Goku Adventure Begins, so that's cool, but I don't know if this is going to be the difference maker. Bonds of Friendship, Android 8. This card is maybe a little better because it does search for the Skillless cards that you would be looking for anyway, and then if a Goku Childhood is KO'd or removed by a skill, or just leaves, right? So if you just like combo with one, you'll immediately trigger Bonds of Friendship and KO one of your opponent's battle cards. That's not bad. The Bonds of Battle, you don't even get the other effects. It's just that they're comboable pieces, right? You can pay 2 to make your cards comboable after you've attacked. Not good, but it's there. And then Shenron Unison of Rescue. Questionable in terms of its base skill, but the fact that you could turn any of your Skillless cards into double strikers that draw a card, that's really not terrible. I think the fact that it does require drop area life instead of add to hand life is a really big hindrance to it. But the activate main to just like play out a 2 or less Skillless is fine, but more importantly, just gain double strike, draw a card on like effectively a 1 cost Unison, right? Because you can just play it for whatever cost you want, is solid. All in all, that's really it. I think the deck looks pretty good. I don't foresee that it would be usurping Gohanks, but I do think it would become, honestly, pretty immediately meta. Access to that Chaozu card, and especially to Bulma Bunny Girl, is a really dangerous group. and I really think the deck has a lot of potential. So far, this is looking to be my pick as the strongest deck out of the next set, potentially alongside Boo. But we still have 2 more colors, and maybe even something to go with Shenron. I have no clue. But with that all said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and just keep swinging vanillas, baby!